Hi, my name is Catherine Trice and I'm with Arrowhead Deck, and I wanted to address the difference between pavers and concrete coatings because I get this question asked quite a bit. One of the major points that I want to address is the height difference, because this is usually the factor that determines whether or not one or the other is going to be a better choice for you. Pavers are typically 2 to 4 inches in height, and you can put them on top of concrete. Concrete coatings have to be on top of concrete. So the overall height of a concrete coating is going to be about the thickness of a coin on top of a 4-inch concrete slab. Pavers, however, are going to be between 2 to 4 inches, and you can put it on top of a concrete slab, so that would add an additional 4 inches of that concrete slab. The big concern that we have here is whether or not that creates a trip hazard for you, whether it's going inside or a property or a step down that it's created. With pavers, you can also dig down into the soil so that you can make the pavers flush with an existing surface, and then you have one continuous surface across without the trip hazard. So it really depends on the application. Color is another major factor that could be determined whether or not you prefer one or the other. On the concrete coatings, we have a choice of what looks like a Cool Deck. Cool Deck is a fabulous brand. They've done a beautiful job, but it's kind of an old technology that has been replaced with an acrylic overlay system. That is similar to our lace texture in the aesthetic and the solid color paint. You can also choose a custom colored stain product, and then you could also upgrade a custom colored stain product to a stain with a pattern. These options are really unique, and they give you a very fluid kind of a look, where we bring in some of the colors existing in the environment to really enhance the whole area, so that you could bring in the color of maybe some pavers, stack stone, rock in the yard, trim of the house, something that's really going to tie everything together. And you can make it look like whatever you want, because it really is a custom watercolor project. And you could also accent with maintaining the same hues and combining your lace texture with your stain texture, and or even just adding a border with the custom colored stain. You have unlimited options. With the pavers, you have pre-manufactured blocks, whether they're concrete or if they're natural stone. You have a range of hues. The concrete pavers typically are going to be brighter colors of reds. You could choose silvers and grays. And they also have a native pattern as well with the purples and oranges. There are quite a different variations if you like the look of pavers. If you are looking for a natural stone, you are going to get more of a unique natural kind of a look. Whether it's a travertine or another type of natural stone like a flagstone, you get a lot of variated colors, whether you're choosing something that's very flashy and bright or something a little bit more muted and traditional like a beige, a taupe, a silver, or a brown. The cooling factor is only going to be offered in a concrete coating. The concrete coatings are going to all be similar in that they are all the same base materials. However, if the cooling factor in the summer heat is going to be your primary interest level, then I would highly recommend considering doing an upgrade to a Reflecto-Seal paint. This is going to be a solid color paint, but it's going to reduce the surface temperature quite a bit more during the summer, and it also depends on the color that you choose. The darker the color, the more heat will be absorbed in that color, and the lighter the color, the more blinding white it will be, and a little bit more detracting, but will not absorb as much heat. Concrete, stone, tile, and pavers by themselves will absorb heat, so they do not have any reflective or cooling properties to them. You can seal anything, but pavers and natural stone don't really like to be sealed. They don't adhere that great. But the concrete coatings all come fully sealed, so they are very easy to clean, whether a glass of red wine gets spilled or a popsicle melts on the pool deck. You can just bust out your garden hose and hose that bad boy down, and then you don't have to worry about it staining. However, natural stone does tend to stain, and depending on the concrete paver that you choose, if it's a dark enough color, it might not be noticeable, but it will still have the ability to be stained. It could also be stained by heavy mineralization that is existing in the soil and the current environment. Heavy minerals like efflorescence or salt are present and often identified by looking like a white calcium or powdery residue that exists around typically the edges of the concrete. If you have a salt water pool, you might notice that on the waterline tile as well. Salt eats concrete. It breaks it down. So in areas particularly where there's an ocean present and heavy minerals of salt are there to wear away at the air and the soil, we have a special primer that we install before we put down the coatings, which acts more like a saran wrap layer to keep the coatings from popping off, but also to give the concrete more tensile strength. So when concrete gets eaten away by heavy minerals, it breaks off the cream first, and then the exposed aggregate underneath is going to be loose pieces of rock. And once those are taken out, then it really exaggerates the quickness with which the concrete erodes away. So we have a protective barrier that we can put down before we put the coatings down, and that we've had some very great success with. You'll also notice this with pavers. Really anywhere hard water could be standing or running over a surface, you could see that deposits of white mineralization known as efflorescence. For cracks in existing concrete, if you're putting pavers over it, you're not going to notice it. And there could be some environmental hazards underneath the concrete, like tree roots or sinkholes or whatever reason that there might be shifting and moving of the soil, whether it's irrigation or water lines or broken pipes even that are flushing out minerals underneath that are going to make that concrete shift and crack. However, if you do have cracked concrete and you're looking to do coatings, what we can do is we can hide those cracks inside of a pattern and make them less visible and then more of a design instead of having those ugly cracks around the surface. We have a couple different products for that. You could do a simulated flagstone style, and we also have a lace style that is less expensive than a custom colored stain product that we offer, and we've seen great success with that as well in making those cracks less visible. Concrete's guaranteed to do two things. It's guaranteed to crack and never get stolen. So we just work with the existing cracks as they are, and then we make them pretty instead of an eyesore. With pavers, you could see weeds growing up through them over time. So if they're not already on top of concrete being Mother Nature's defense barrier, you're not going to see your weeds growing through the concrete. So if the pavers are directly on top of the ground, even though we use plastic, even though we seal off the ground underneath, over time, you can see weeds growing through the pavers. So that is a maintenance concern if that's the way you're going. And then with pavers, there can be an unevenness. So some concrete pavers are going to have more rounded edges. As a result, particularly if you've got metal patio furniture, it can rock a little bit more. You could put little feet on the bottom. It may not be a big issue, but it's just something to take into consideration. If you have any more questions or any concerns, I'm more than happy to answer anything that you might have for me. You can give us a call at the office directly, and we'd be happy to explore some different options for your particular project. Give us a call at 602-833-8560 and visit us on the web at www.arrowheaddeck.com. Thanks so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing from you.